France just made a move so bold, it left the US speechless, and even the EU didn't see it coming. What does this mean for electric vehicles, the global oil industry, and the future of international trade? In a move that caught many by surprise, France has hit back at US tariffs with swift countermeasures, sending shockwaves through the automotive industry and beyond. Now, the European Union is rethinking its trade strategy, leaving automakers scrambling to adapt. What started as an effort to protect domestic industries is quickly turning into a high-stakes showdown that could reshape global trade for years to come. It all began when President Trump approved a 25% tariff on steel and aluminum imports in early 2025. The goal was to protect American manufacturers, ensuring domestic producers weren't undercut by cheaper foreign imports. But what Washington may not have anticipated was how fast France, and by extension, the EU, would respond. French Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot wasted no time making it clear that Europe wouldn't just stand by while its industries took a hit. France has made it clear it won't let US trade policies dictate the future of its manufacturing sector. Now, retaliatory measures are already in motion. For the auto industry, this is a game changer. Steel and aluminum are essential materials in car production, and any disruption in their supply or cost has ripple effects across the entire supply chain. With raw material prices climbing, automakers now face tough decisions: absorb the extra costs or pass them on to consumers. Either way, the outlook isn't great. Car prices are likely to rise, and production delays could become more common. France's decision to strike back with its own trade restrictions signals a deeper shift in global economic alliances. As US trade relations grow more unpredictable, France has been strengthening its partnerships elsewhere, most notably with China. But this isn't just about making a political statement. It's a calculated move that could reshape how the French and broader European automotive industries operate. In recent years, France and China have been forging stronger economic ties, and the numbers speak for themselves. In 2023 alone, trade between the two nations surged to nearly $79 billion, an extraordinary jump over the past few decades. French President Emmanuel Macron's visit to Beijing in April 2023 wasn't just for show. It resulted in major agreements spanning agriculture, aviation, and, crucially, automotive technology. For French automakers, this partnership is a game changer. China dominates electric vehicle battery production, and its massive consumer market could help offset potential losses from US trade restrictions. French car manufacturers are already exploring joint ventures with Chinese firms, giving them access to cutting-edge EV technology and expanding their reach in one of the world's fastest-growing car markets. This shift toward China highlights a key lesson in global trade. Diversification isn't just a smart strategy, it's essential for survival. Relying too heavily on any one market, whether it's the US or China, exposes industries to unnecessary risks. France's ability to pivot quickly and secure new trade deals could be the key to ensuring the long-term stability of its automotive sector. While these economic shifts take shape, the immediate impact of US tariffs is already rippling across Europe's auto supply chain. The industry functions like a finely tuned machine, with parts and materials flowing seamlessly between suppliers and manufacturers. But with tariffs now disrupting that balance, costs are rising, production timelines are lengthening, and logistics are becoming a headache. Major companies that rely on transatlantic trade are already weighing their options. Airbus CEO Guillaume Faury has hinted that if US tariffs keep driving up costs, the aerospace giant might start prioritizing non-US customers. If a company as influential as Airbus is considering shifting focus, it's easy to imagine automakers following suit. For car manufacturers, this could mean a complete rethink of supply chains. Some may relocate production facilities to avoid high tariffs, while others look for alternative sources of raw materials. But these adjustments aren't quick or easy. Setting up new supply lines and production hubs takes time and money, both of which are in short supply as the industry battles rising costs and economic uncertainty. The real wild card in all of this: consumer reaction. If tariffs keep pushing car prices higher, demand could take a serious hit. In a volatile market where inflation and economic instability have already made big-ticket purchases more daunting, higher vehicle prices could drive buyers away. Fewer sales mean lower production, which could lead to job losses and economic slowdowns across the sector, a domino effect no automaker wants to see. Some companies might try to absorb costs in the short term to keep prices stable, but that's not a sustainable solution. If trade tensions drag on, manufacturers will have no choice but to pass the burden on to consumers, making cars more expensive across the board. Meanwhile, the uncertainty surrounding global trade policies is making it harder for businesses to plan ahead. If automakers knew tariffs were temporary, they could develop short-term strategies to ride out the storm. But with no clear resolution in sight, they're being forced to make long-term decisions in an unpredictable environment. And it's not just automakers feeling the pressure. Suppliers, dealerships, and even aftermarket service providers are all caught in the crossfire. A disruption in steel and aluminum supply doesn't just impact new car production. It also drives up the cost of replacement parts, making repairs and maintenance more expensive. Consumers who were considering holding onto their cars longer instead of buying new ones will now have to factor in rising maintenance costs, adding yet another layer of financial strain in an already uncertain market. The trade battle between the US and France isn't just about steel and aluminum. It's about the future of global commerce. As tensions rise, the European Union is stepping up, preparing for what could turn into a full-scale economic standoff. France may have been the first to retaliate against US tariffs, but it's not acting alone. The entire EU is now rallying behind the idea that it must protect its industries from aggressive trade policies coming from across the Atlantic. French President Emmanuel Macron has been especially vocal, calling for a unified response to what he sees as unfair trade measures. His message is clear. The EU can't afford to sit back and let tariffs dictate its economic future. While diplomacy remains an option, Europe is also laying the groundwork for its own retaliatory tariffs. If the US continues down this path, the EU is ready to push back with equal force. For the automotive industry, the stakes couldn't be higher. The EU is one of the world's biggest auto exporters, home to global giants like Volkswagen, BMW, Mercedes-Benz, Renault, and Stellantis. If trade tensions escalate, the industry could face supply chain chaos, rising production costs, and a loss of competitiveness in global markets. The EU has already begun discussing countermeasures, exploring ways to shield European automakers from the financial strain of shifting trade policies. While leaders in Brussels are keeping diplomatic channels open, they're also making it clear that they won't hesitate to act if necessary. If tariffs keep pushing up prices on raw materials and car parts, manufacturers may have to rethink their entire production strategies. One of the biggest shifts happening now is France's accelerated push to diversify its trade partnerships. With US trade policies becoming more unpredictable, France and the EU are working to reduce their reliance on American markets. Instead of focusing heavily on transatlantic trade, they're expanding economic ties with Asia, Latin America, and Africa, seeking new opportunities to offset potential losses from trade disputes.